So, picture this. It's the middle of the night. We're talking May 16th, stretching into the early hours of May 17th, 2025. Folks across parts of the good old US of A are out and about. They're not looking for trouble. They're hoping to catch a glimpse of the northern lights. The Aurora, you know? That spooky, beautiful dance of light that sometimes graces our night sky. An unexpected geomagnetic storm, a G2 class the scientists called it, was putting on a bit of a show. This set the stage for some real celestial fireworks. People were already pretty jazzed about seeing the auroras further south than usual. Then something else decided to join the party. It was bright, it was white, and it was definitely a mystery. People in places like Colorado, New Mexico, and even Kansas were bundled up. They were staring patiently at the northern horizon. The aurora was doing its thing, maybe a gentle ripple, maybe a faint glow. It depends on where you were and how dark your skies were. Then, all of a sudden, this brilliant white streak appeared. It sliced right across the heavens. This wasn't like the aurora. The aurora shimmers, it undulates. This streak was more direct. It was a bold line. It moved with a purpose. It was a real head-scratcher for everyone out there in the chilly darkness, let me tell you. The big question popped into everyone's mind. What in the Sam Hill was that? Was it a shooting star on steroids? Maybe a piece of an old satellite taking a final bow? Or perhaps a super-secret military aircraft doing maneuvers? Social media probably lit up like a Christmas tree. Folks started sharing photos, shaky videos, and a whole lot of speculation. This streak wasn't just a quick flash and gone. No, sir. It was a sustained event, a luminous plume that seemed to flow across the sky. It certainly got people talking and wondering. Imagine being out there, expecting one kind of natural wonder, and then getting this bonus mystery object thrown in. The timing of this whole shebang was pretty interesting too. The Aurora storm itself, that G2 event, was a bit of a surprise. It wasn't a monster storm, mind you, but it was strong enough to push those beautiful auroral displays into regions that don't normally get to see them. And right smack in the middle of this natural light show, this other very different luminous object appears. It added a whole new layer of awe, and yeah, a fair bit of confusion to an already special night. People were definitely scratching their heads, trying to figure out what they'd just seen. It was a night for the books. So, what was this brilliant white visitor gracing our skies? Well, despite what some folks might have hoped, it wasn't a UFO. It wasn't some brand new, never-before-seen atmospheric phenomenon either. The truth, as it often is, was a bit more down to Earth, or at least closer to Earth orbit. The culprit was identified, thanks to some sharp eyes and quick thinking. It turned out to be the upper stage of a Chinese rocket. Yep, a rocket. Specifically, a Zhuke-2E methane-fueled rocket launched by a company called Landspace. This thing had blasted off about an hour before the streak made its grand appearance over the United States. Now this Zhuke-2E rocket wasn't just up there burning fuel for the fun of it. It had a job to do. It was carrying a payload of 6 satellites into orbit. These weren't just any satellites either. The manifest included a radar spacecraft and something described as a space science payload. The launch itself happened from Site 96 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. That's way over in China. So this rocket stage had already covered a significant amount of ground, or rather space, before it decided to put on its light show for skywatchers in America. It's a long haul from Jiuquan to the skies above Colorado. But how does a piece of a rocket end up looking like a giant glowing paintbrush stroke across the night? It's not like they paint these things with glow-in-the-dark paint. This is where the experts come in. An astronomer named Jonathan McDowell, who's pretty well known for tracking this kind of space traffic, chimed in. He confirmed on X, which you might remember as Twitter, that the Zhuke-2 upper stage had indeed passed over the U.S. Four Corners area. This happened at precisely 05:25 UTC on May 17th. The luminous cloud, he explained, was caused by a fuel dump. Plain and simple, leftover fuel being vented. This fuel dump, or venting, occurred at a pretty impressive altitude. We're talking about 155 miles, or roughly 250 kilometers, straight up. That's well into the realm where the atmosphere is incredibly thin. McDowell suggested that this venting was likely part of a de-orbit procedure, or perhaps a circularization burn needed to get the satellites into their correct final orbits. When you release fuel in the near vacuum of space at that height, it expands rapidly. The tiny frozen particles of propellant catch the sunlight. Even if it's dark on the ground, the sun can still be shining way up there, and they light up like a Christmas tree, or in this case, a giant white streak. Now, let's not forget the other star of this celestial double feature, the Aurora. That shimmering curtain of light didn't just appear out of nowhere. This particular geomagnetic storm, classified as a G2 moderate storm, was actually a bit of a surprise. It seems Mother Earth caught a glancing blow from something called a coronal mass ejection, or CME for short. Think of a CME as a massive belch from the sun. It's a huge eruption of superheated gas, also known as plasma, and tangled magnetic fields, all blasting out into space at incredible speeds. This one just happened to sideswipe our planet. This CME wasn't just a random outburst from our star. It had an origin story. It was launched during a significant event on the Sun, a large filament eruption. This solar spectacle took place back on May 12, 2025. So the charged particles and magnetic mess took about 4 days to make the 93 million mile journey from the Sun to Earth. That's some serious travel time. The eruption itself occurred in the Sun's northern hemisphere. Scientists who study this stuff describe the shape of the ejected material as looking like a bird wing. And, as it turned out, this bird wing was a bit wider than they initially predicted, meaning more of it grazed Earth. So, what happens when this solar fastball of a CME smacks into Earth's protective magnetic shield, our magnetosphere? Well, our planet's magnetic field does a pretty good job of deflecting most of this incoming solar wind and radiation. But a powerful CME, even a glancing blow from one, can cause a disturbance. It compresses and shakes our magnetosphere. This interaction accelerates particles already trapped within the magnetic field, and also allows some solar particles to sneak in. These energized particles then rain down into our upper atmosphere, crashing into oxygen and nitrogen atoms. Those atoms get excited, and then they release that extra energy as light. Voila, the Aurora. A G2 storm like the one we had is considered moderate on the space weather scale. It's not the kind of Carrington event powerhouse that could knock out power grids worldwide, but it's certainly potent enough to make the auroras visible at latitudes much lower than usual. Places like Colorado, New Mexico, and Kansas aren't exactly regular aurora viewing hotspots. They're usually too far south. So for folks in those states, getting to see any auroral activity is a real treat. The fact that this particular storm was unexpected just added to the excitement of the night. The sun, it seems, decided to throw an impromptu light party for a wider audience. You can bet that the people who were out there and saw this double celestial show, the Aurora and the mystery streak, were pretty blown away. Take photographer Mike Lewinsky, for example. He was in Crestone, Colorado, a place known for its dark skies. He described the scene vividly. The Aurora was already rippling gently on the northern horizon. Then, all of a sudden, this intensely bright streak appeared high up in the sky. He said it was reminiscent of a rocket re-entry, which turned out to be a pretty good guess. It seemed to flow downwards, towards the horizon. Imagine trying to capture that with your camera. That's a keeper. Another dedicated Aurora photographer, Derek Wilson, also had a front row seat. He was positioned north of Farmington, New Mexico, when the event unfolded around 11:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on that Friday night, May 16th. He noted that the aurora itself was visible, but it was mostly colorless to the naked eye, which can happen with less intense displays. And then, he exclaimed, the brightest sight I've ever seen in the night sky appeared overhead. Now that's saying something, especially coming from someone who regularly photographs the night sky. It clearly made a massive impression on those lucky enough to be looking up at the right moment. Over in southern Kansas, photographer Tyler Schlitt was another witness to this spectacular white plume. His first thought, interestingly enough, was that he might be seeing Steve. Steve stands for Strong Thermal Emission Velocity Enhancement. It's a different, fairly rare atmospheric phenomenon that sometimes appears as a ribbon of mauve or green light, occasionally accompanying auroras. But this wasn't Steve. Schlitt later commented on X, learning that it's a rocket launch yet again from China is wild. 1 year ago in a few days, I saw the same thing. So for him, it was a bit of déjà vu, a repeat performance by an unexpected rocket. It's not the first time that rocket launches have created dazzling and sometimes baffling sky phenomena. Launches by companies like SpaceX, particularly their Falcon 9 rockets, have been known to produce some truly strange and beautiful sights. Things like giant, glowing spirals expanding in the twilight sky. These events, whether they're natural wonders, like the Aurora Borealis, or man-made spectacles from space hardware, serve as a fantastic reminder. A reminder to step outside, look up, and appreciate the incredible things happening above our heads. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, you get two amazing shows for the price of one clear night.